So I started out Dave Ramsey, and I'm pretty decently in debt now because of real estate, but we started out, so I'm not like totally banned from the group. So we started out debt free because we had about $118,000 in debt that we needed to clean up because my husband had originally joined his family business, and then like we essentially ran ourselves out of money because his family promised us one income, and then we ended up with like not making even close to that, like maybe half, maybe a third. And so we had just tons and tons of car payments. So I'm really car debt adverse because we financed like brand new vehicles, and it just suffocated us. Okay. So anyway, we paid off a lot of debt with Dave Ramsey. So I think he's good for some things. And I think it's nice to not have any debt and like payments because we can save so fast. And so we decided so I've only been doing real estate since 2018, and I'm at 5 houses now.
But sir, how did you go from like all this debt to then 5 properties? Because a lot of people are starting probably with no debt and want to get to some properties. And then can you kind of walk us through some of the financing, how you're managing debt now, how you define debt? I mean, just really dig into everything because, I'm really interested as well.
So essentially we paid off all of our debt, and then I convinced my husband that we should sell our house on 5 acres that we remodeled. So we essentially did like a live-in flip and renovated this house. And I said, let's sell our house on 5 acres and buy 2 small properties. And that's how we got started. Was we took our like $43,000 in whatever cash we had held up in that property from remodeling and kind of making money off of that. We did it for sale by owner, which was actually horrible. Yeah, that was like my first and only for sale by owner experience I think I'll ever do because the people were nuts. And yeah, apparently our closing date interfered with their goat's IVF cycle. And they like couldn't breed their goats, and then were like super mad at us for interfering with like their goat breeding business. I don't know. But it was really their financing that held it up. So yeah, so we bought 2 properties in town. So one we moved into, and we did a second live-in flip, and then the other one was our first rental unit, and it was pretty much turnkey. I think we did like $600,000 worth of stuff, or $600 worth of stuff. Like it was like you replaced 2 floor joists, and we put in like change out the garbage disposal and like little things like that, and we were done. So that was our first one. And then we were really, really good at saving by then. So we have like over 50% savings rate. And so we saved our way into a duplex. And that was like, and we bought them all 20% down, conventional mortgages. I live in Indiana, so cost of houses are really cheap. So the first house was, I think, like $76,000. The house we live in or used to live in was $118,000. And then my next one was $95,000 for a duplex. But it's like a piece of crap. Like one side's like a full gut, a full house rewire. We put a new roof on it. Like it's a mess for $95,000. So that's kind of where we started.
So you went conventional the whole way, 20% down. And it's interesting because that's actually the same way I do it. The first 3. So I do all conventional, 20%. And the reason I like to do that is because I don't like to be over leveraged. And if I own at least 20% of the property, then I feel safe. That if I had to sell, then I would be okay.
So then we had these properties, and we're starting to like, in the duplex we inherited tenants with, and we just let them stay for as long as they would. So we didn't have to fix it up right away. And then I saw this property that I really wanted, but I had like $12,000, and that obviously isn't enough to buy much. And so we talked to local banks. And so I actually talked to the Stealthy Rich on Instagram. I don't know if anyone follows them, but they're pretty good. And they buy all their properties with portfolio loans through a local bank. And so I started shopping around and essentially called a bunch of banks that are like small with only a few branches, local banks, and said like, do you guys offer like lending you keep in-house, like not that you sell on like the secondary market and sell out? Do you offer any loans and do portfolio loans? Because I need to get creative to buy this like third house because it was such a good deal.
How many banks did you call?
Probably 4.
Okay.
It seemed like a lot because it was very time consuming, because if anyone said yes, like I think I called 4 or 5. And then if anyone said yes, I set up meetings with them, and I met with 2. And I asked them like a lot of questions, and like I'm very organized. So I brought in like all of our net worth statements, everything with me when I went in. So they didn't think this like young girl like knew what she was doing. So I came like over prepared. And we found a bank that would say, okay, if we take your other rentals and package them with this, to package the 2 we already owned and this third one that we wanted to buy into one loan, they would lend to us 20% loan to value on the entire set. And so we could use a little bit of equity in our other 2 properties to essentially buy this third one. So I could buy this other house for like, I think our closing costs, like, and everything all in was like $11,000 to buy like a $65,000 house. They wanted to see, so I brought our rent roll. I brought my spreadsheets on what I thought comps were for rent, like what rent would go for this new property. I took our net worth statement, so showing like we don't carry any personal debt. Our credit scores are really high. Like I brought those statements. And then just like essentially showing that we don't have any other personal debt on our side and like what our incomes were. So like pay stubs, net worth, rent roll, and yeah, all of that. But we ended up doing a 20-year loan for those, but it's on a 6-in-1 arm. So like after 6 years, we could get a different interest rate, but honestly, the interest rate is really good. I think it's like 5.4, which is
For
pretty
investment
good.
loans, anything under 5.5, I don't worry too much about refinancing.
Right.